Good evening, Lisa.
Good evening, Andrew. Good evening, everybody.
Hold it up, hold it up. Ooh, who's that?
It is Are You Being Served? Series 4.
With Mr. Lucas.
Mr. Lucas. Mr. James Stroke Dick Lucas.
James Stroke Dick.
Yes, because he's called both.
I know. This is Series 4, Episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
No Sale from Thursday, the 8th of April, 1976.
Yes.
So the schedule runs something like Tomorrow's World, Top of the Pops, Are You Being Served, and the Burke Special with James Burke.
Okay,
So
drinking alcohol.
that's it. No, he's not. No, I don't know. I haven't seen it, but
Probably he is.
he might be. But yeah, that's a good solid lineup. I think that's a very good. I'd certainly like to see that. But we start at 8:30 in the morning.
Yes, before 8:30 in the morning.
Well, yes.
Because they're opening the shop at 8:30 in the morning.
No.
Which was probably quite shocking, though.
This is to allow people going to work to shop.
To shop, yes.
That's the thing. But Mr. Rumbold's there, and the cleaners are complaining. As indeed everybody's going to complain about this new scheme. But he says you have to experiment. That's why we built Concorde.
Yes.
And Martha's wailing. In comes Captain Peacock, and in his hand he's got some coffee and what's described as a bacon butty.
Bacon butty at Fred's Cafe.
But he had to get up at 0600 hours.
Yes.
Now, what's the earliest start that you do?
Well, at work.
At work, yeah.
At 8:30.
So you do start at 8:30,
Yes.
but you don't get up at 0600 hours, do you?
I might get up at 04:30 hours normally.
But
I get up that time mostly every day anyway because I have. It's not because Captain Peacock is fortunate. He has a wife who can wash up and do stuff. I have to do all that before I go to work. So.
But yeah, Mrs. Peacock wasn't keen on this and basically told him to get knotted. Then what appears to be a customer comes in. Somebody dressed in like motorbike outfit.
A helmet and leathers.
Yeah. But it turns out to be Miss Brahms.
Yes.
Who got a lift in on the motorbike from her dad. And Mrs. Slocum also came with them in the sidecar. I'm just imagining like on the buses or something like. But yeah, she arrives and her hair's all flat, isn't it?
Yes, it's all sort of
flat and at the
that
front.
way. Yeah,
well, it's at the front.
Yeah, it's at the front. Yeah, because she's been sitting with her back.
Yeah, she didn't want to see where she was going.
No.
So yeah, she does look silly. And what is it? We said it's sort of pinky grey.
Pinky grey.
It's not day glow, is it?
No,
it's quite sort of subdued.
Subtle, yes, this week.
But yes, she's not keen on these early starts because having a bath at 6 a.m. Played havoc with her pussy apparently, which sleeps in the airing cupboard.
It sleeps in the airing cupboard because it's all nice and warm in the airing cupboard. You get the pipes for the tank.
Now we have an airing cupboard, but there's no heat in there, is it?
No.
But Martha isn't allowed in the airing cupboard
Not anymore. No. She used to go in there quite a lot when they first came to live with us. Rose would get in there. We got some lovely pictures of them both looking at there going, That's a long way.
But Martha would get in the bottom section, and then to get to the top section, she couldn't just climb up.
She had to be daring.
She had to jump out, bang into the door, and catapult herself up with her back legs.
So she was banned.
Because we thought this was dangerous.
Yes.
Then Mr. Granger comes in, and he's got one of those comedy plasters on his head that you don't really see people have, do you?
No, you don't know.
You just get them in comedy shows. But this was caused by what? Mrs.
Granger hitting him with a
bottle of bismuth.
Yes. Because she was having a dream that she was on Errol Flynn's yacht.
Yeah. And
somebody says, was she Errol Flynn's girlfriend?
No, she was Errol Flynn.
Yes.
I don't know what that's about.
No.
That's very strange. And you said you can see the studio lights reflected in Mr. Rumbold's glasses. Yeah. Then enter Mr. Humphreys with a sailor's hat on and a sort of...
a big backpack thing.
Yeah.
Well, not backpack. Is it one of those drawer sack things?
Yeah.
That's something you take your peek in. Yeah.
And he's come all the way from Newcastle upon Tyne, apparently.
He left at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, there's no name on his hat for the ship, which is just as well because it did say "Kiss me quick."
Yes.
And he's been a sailor. He's been dressed as a sailor before or something, and he's had various encounters with people, including something he describes as a string vestite, which I have no idea what that is.
No, I don't know either.
Somebody
Maybe it's a 70s thing.
Somebody wearing a string vest, I suppose.
Possibly. Well, what year did Rocky Horror Show come out?
I've absolutely no
Because
idea.
doesn't Frankenfurter have some sort of holy stringy top?
Well, I was thinking more of Ramsay Nesbitt. He has a string
I don't
vest.
think he's a transvestite though. So.
Mrs. Slocum is told to uncover her bust.
And she sorted her hair out. Despite having complained it would cost her a fortune at Madame Beryl's.
Yeah,
she's managed to get
right
it all puffed back up again. Yeah.
But Mr. Lucas is not in.
No.
But yes, when he does arrive, he comes out of the lift with his shaver.
He's electric shaver, yes. He's trying to shave.
And he launches into this amazing story about why he's late.
Yeah.
And it's all to do with his crippled mother, who overslept, but gave him a lift in her invalid carriage, but got pulled over and breathalyzed. But she'd had a liqueur chocolate.
Yes.
And it just goes on and on, this story. And he sort of gets away with it, doesn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. And Mr. Humphreys says this sort of rambling story makes, quote, makes Doctor Who's adventures seem quite normal.
Yes.
And given that it's April 1976, what's the most recent Doctor Who adventure? Do you know?
Not offhand.
Seeds of Doom.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yes. So early opening. They don't really think anybody's going to come in, do they? But there's a bit of a rush, isn't there?
Yes.
As several people come to the sort of gents department.
Yeah.
Rush in.
Yeah.
And was it one bloke had a jacket and a suit or something?
Check suit.
And Mr. Granger's
He's doing his spiel.
doing his
and he's still doing it when the customer's
He's
gone.
long gone.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even get to say it'll ride up with where.
No.
And a bloke comes in and wants some gloves.
Yes. And then he takes a whole lot of gloves with him.
Because they're
all attached
on a
together
string,
to stop
aren't they?
people from stealing them.
Yeah, and is it Captain Peacock who's got to
he has to
knit
cut
them with his
Yeah.
scissors? The phone goes, Mr. Lucas answers, does an impression of Mr. Humphreys, menswear, and it turns out to be Mr. Humphreys' mother.
Yes. Who's staying with him.
Yes.
Now, at some point later on in the series, doesn't he actually still live with her?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe he has to give up his flat or his house.
But he says how he's over 21 and he doesn't sleep with Paddington Bear anymore.
No, because his Wellingtons are too cold.
But it's something about a Scotsman.
Yeah.
And she says there's a bloke coming up the path in a kilt.
Yeah, he tells us to go and hide in the cupboard and he'll phone before he leaves work.
And he's gonna be dressed as a policeman,
Just as a policeman,
or something.
if he can borrow a helmet from the toilet department.
Miss Brahms has been in the pub, and there was a bloke
The night before.
there. And what was he? Had a
Hairy
hairy chest.
A sort of, his shirt was open to his thing, and he had a hairy chest, and
He basically wouldn't take no for an answer, would he?
he had his hand on her bottom.
So how did she deal with him?
She ordered a large gin and tonic with lots of ice and
Yeah.
poured it down his front. That made him let go.
But Mrs. Slocum's quite interested in this pub. And
what pub is this?
Because this bloke's 40, so
40,
so
yeah.
quite young.
Quite young, really. Yes. Yeah.
That's not funny anymore.
No.
And a woman wants a hat.
Yes.
And there's about 4 different hats she tries on, and a hat box.
And a hat box lid.
Yeah. And every time it's, oh, that does suit madam.
Yes. And Captain Peacock comes over and says, Mrs. Slocum, your needle appears to be stuck.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
But the woman can't make her mind up, so she just takes
all 4.
Takes the lot. And then we cut to the canteen where Mr. Rumbold's having queen pudding. I should have looked up what queen pudding was.
It seems to have cream and custard in it. So.
Yeah. And there's been a noticeable jump in the sales figures, so it seems to be
working.
This notion seems to have done some good, and he compares himself to Churchill, doesn't he? But Captain Peacock mentions how he was in the catering corps or something.
In the catering corps. You must miss the catering corps. And I still say he's not old enough to have been in the army in the Second World War.
Okay. But the staff are not happy.
No.
And even Mr. Humphreys is disappointed with the Queen pudding. He didn't live up to the promise.
Promise, yeah.
But yes, Mr. Granger gets a wonderful line, and because he's got the custard on the go, hasn't he? And he says, "How do you arrive at that hypothesis?"
Yes.
And they said, "What? I'm not saying that again. That my teeth are caught in the custard."
Yes. Make it sound like Pertwee.
All right, okay. But the ladies and the gents are both up by about £100 compared with
the previous week.
But Mrs. Slocum has encountered her milkman for the first time.
Yes, she doesn't want to meet him again.
No. What was it?
He seems to think he's in some sort of
Confessions of a
Milkman film. Yes.
Mr. Granger can't quite remember the exact figures for last time. He's got a memory like
Sieve.
A memory like
Sieve.
What's that thing? Sieve, which is the joke reused in Sharda. Oh, what's that thing you strain rice in? Douglas Adams copying from Are You Being Served?
Copy from the best.
Yes. But the scheme is hatched to break into Mr. Rumbold's office. What was it? Mr. Granger says a bit like Bulldog Drummond, and they're going to sort of roll some dice to decide who gets to do it. So Mr. Lucas makes some dice out of sugar.
Yes, he puts numbers on a sugar cube.
And Mr. Granger is told to put it in the cup and shake it.
Yeah.
Except he puts it in his cup of coffee.
Yes, and drinks.
And that's the end of the sugar. But Mrs. Slocum rings up Mr. Rumbold. Notice he's not got a secretary in this episode.
No, he hasn't. He's in between secretaries.
Yes. And she puts on a voice. Now, how does she describe herself?
As
she's 21
with a 40-inch
bust
and long blonde hair
and blue eyes.
And she's been watching at the squash club. Can't say that. And she's got a crush on bald men.
And he's got terribly exciting knees.
Terribly exciting knees.
So she's going to come and see him. Captain Peacock overhears the description of herself and tells her not to make personal calls and not to infringe the Trade Descriptions Act as well. But Mr. Rumbold sort of comes down onto the floor and starts sort of looking around to see if he can see this lady. But he sort of tells Captain Peacock to carry on with what he's doing, and Captain Peacock says, "Well, I am," because he's just sort of standing
there. Yes.
So it's almost as though Mr. Rumbold doesn't actually know what Captain Peacock is meant to do.
No, or he doesn't realise quite
what little he
does. Yeah.
So it's taken him like this long to work that out, but he says he'll make a note of it. Mr. Lucas is in the office with his hand in the drawers.
Yes.
But no, Mr. Rumbold's on the phone and says,
no, Mr. Rumbold comes in. The phone rings.
That's right. The phone rings.
It only rings once though, but when they pick it up, the person's still on the end of the phone, which is a bit odd.
So he says to the person on the phone, "Are you 21 with a 40-inch bust?"
Yes.
And young Mr. Grace, who's on the other end, who's long blonde hair, young Mr. Grace, who's on the other end of the phone, is a bit taken aback by this.
I'm 80.
80-ish.
With short white hair and virtually no bust.
Hardly any bust at all. I love the fact he has to look down to check.
To see, have I got a bust or no?
But yes, last Monday it was sort of £325 they made, and they're already up to 170 and 150, so they're very close to getting beyond the figure,
which means they'll have to keep on opening early.
They've got to put people off then. So there's a couple come in, and the lady wants an evening dress for
her husband wants to buy her an evening dress. His firms do,
but they sort of discuss it back and forth, and she's got this sort of blue thing with what is sort of feathery bits on
like ostrich feathers or something, I suppose.
And it's for the firm's dance, and he's the manager of accounts, but he's not the managing director.
He's not the managing director, no.
So you've got Mrs. Slocum on one side trying to put her off, and Captain Peacock on the other side trying to encourage her. But Mrs. Slocum says you must be careful not to outshine your superior's wife.
Yes.
Basically, she's nobbling the sale, isn't
yes.
she?
So they don't sell the £95 evening dress.
But she sort of says he's pandering to his own ego,
yes.
showing her off.
And his wife says, "Well, I did tell you I didn't want it. I wanted a washing machine."
Yeah. And eventually, I thought they fall out of it, and he says she looks like a great big stuffed turkey.
Yes.
Yeah, we're getting to the truth now, aren't we? And he's going to go to the dance without her, but he's got, what's it, a woman on the comptometer.
Comptometer, whatever a comptometer is. I have heard of it, but it's...
Is that one of those like manual things?
Possibly, yes.
You do sums on, I don't know. But Mr. Lucas and Mr. Humphreys say this is just like Crossroads.
Yes, they're watching
from a distance.
Yes.
So yeah, Mr. Rumbold finds young Mr. Grace in his office.
Yeah.
And he says the scheme was going well, but takings had dropped off. So young Mr. Grace says he can't go back on his word.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, they'll stop it. So yeah, bring me the figures in my office at the end of the day. And he sat behind Mr. Rumbold's desk and confused as to where he is.
Yeah.
And there's a picture of Mr. Rumbold's wife on the desk.
Which you never see.
Which you never see.
Yeah.
But so he goes, "Oh, so that's your wife? Oh, thank God for that." Yeah. Then a bloke comes in wanting a raincoat. And the shot is like, is it Mr. Lucas, I think, trying to sell it, and over his shoulder you can see Mr. Granger in the sort of distance, grinning like an idiot. I don't know whether he thinks the camera's not on him or not, but he seems very happy. But yeah, Mr. Lucas and Mr. Humphreys attempt to
not sell the coat.
Yeah,
because he wants to buy a raincoat. I don't know if he said that.
Because he wants one that's £28 or something.
And they said it's gone up to 40.
And then they've only got 34s or something.
In the £24.
Yeah. And it's got terrible stitching and uneven sleeves. That's just like pulling his arms in different positions. But the bloke,
he's determined to buy this jacket.
Whatever sort of obstacles they put in his way.
He poo-poos it, doesn't he?
Because he says, "Yeah, my arms are uneven."
Yeah.
And in the end, he's impressed with their honesty. So it really looks like he's gonna
buy the jacket.
Gonna buy it. But Mr. Grace's wealth of Mr. Granger's wealth of experience comes into play here. He comes up to the customer and says, "You've got a fat face, little piggy eyes, and a pimple on your nose."
Yeah.
And turns to the others and go, "That's how not to sell clothes."
Yes. And he goes and complains to the
to Captain Peacock.
Captain Peacock, and Captain Peacock comes over and asks him, and Mr. Granger says,
"Does that sort of sound like the sort of thing I'd say to a customer?" And he gets away with it.
Yes, because he's so senior and so sort of outstanding that you wouldn't imagine him
never say that.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the episode.
Yes.
So presumably, because they don't make the money, the scheme doesn't carry on.
Stops
next week. But yeah, not a bad opening.
No.
Okay. What's next? What's the next
Top Hat and Tails.
Oh, blimey. A ballroom dancing competition, isn't it? Oh, that's another song and dance one, isn't it?
Yes.
But yeah, okay. Do you want to score that one out of...
I think I'd say that's a 6, that one.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with you on that. But yeah, opening the season with a fairly gentle one. But yeah, okay.
Yes.
So we'll say goodnight.
Yes, and we'll see you next week for
episode 2. We'll be back again with another one. Bye-bye.
Bye.